You've learned about subclassing, where a class inherits traits from another class. But did you know that a subclass can alter the base class method or reuse it while adding new functionalities to it? This is the role of polymorphism. In this video, you'll learn what polymorphism is, how to implement it, and discover the relationship between base and subclasses. Polymorphism describes the process of inheriting base class methods to perform different tasks in the subclass. Simply put, polymorphism is about transforming the base class at the subclass level. A base class is the parent class, while a subclass is the child class. And as you may recall, a subclass inherits traits from a base class. A parent class is also referred to as a superclass. You can remember this by thinking that the super word represents supersede, so the class that comes before the subclass. When you want to reuse a parent method, you call the superclass followed by the dot syntax and the method name. You'd commonly find yourself calling on the superclass when overriding a method. A child class, also referred to as a subclass, can modify inherited properties and methods. The benefit of using polymorphism is increasing code clarity and reusability, which leads to writing less code and easier long-term code maintenance. Ultimately, polymorphism comes down to method override, which describes the process of changing the functionality of a method. To better understand the function and role of polymorphism, think of the following scenario. Little Lemon serves a base spaghetti dish. It's just a plain pasta and tomato sauce dish, nothing too interesting. There's also a variation of it called the spaghetti meatball dish. The spaghetti meatball dish is a transformation of the base spaghetti dish. When you think about a transformation of an instance, you can consider the polymorphism concept. Let's view a demonstration of how you can use polymorphism to make a subclass take on a different form than the base class. Using the Little Lemon example, I'll first introduce the spaghetti base class. I define a spaghetti base class. It has an ingredients property of type string set and a fetch ingredients method that prints the ingredients property. Now, I'll demonstrate the application of polymorphism on the base spaghetti class instance. I create a class called spaghetti meatball that subclasses spaghetti. If you can recall, subclassing inherits properties and functionalities of another class. Now, to change the functionality of a method, I override the fetch ingredients method. To override a method, I type override followed by the original function signature. I have overridden the original method, so technically, I have already transformed the spaghetti base class to another variation called the spaghetti meatball class. To make the demonstration more obvious, inside the override method body, I add a print statement that prints special spaghetti meatball ingredient. Instead of having the original ingredient, I have transformed the fetch ingredients method to print an abstract statement of special spaghetti meatball ingredients. Great. Now a demonstration of the transformation. At the bottom of the playground page, I instantiate a spaghetti class instance and a spaghetti meatball instance. I call the fetch ingredients method on each class instance. I run the code. The console logs the ingredients of the pasta and tomato sauce from the spaghetti base class. This is followed by another line that reads special spaghetti meatball ingredients. The original function no longer works like before. The subclass has transformed the function of the base class. You've now viewed the application of polymorphism. Now, let's say I want to use the parent method implementation in addition to executing an operation that wasn't previously present. I can do something called calling the superclass method. As mentioned, a superclass is a parent class. Essentially, I can use the parent class implementation. In my subclass, I can do something before or after calling the superclass method. I'll now demonstrate doing something before and after calling the superclass method. First, I'll remove all the code inside the fetch ingredients method of the spaghetti meatball class. Then I print before. This before print statement will indicate doing something before the superclass method implementation. Next, I'll call the superclass method. To call the superclass method, I type the super keyword followed by the dot syntax and the superclass method name. In this case, I simply want to call the parent fetch ingredients method. Then in a new line, I print after. This print statement will indicate doing something after the superclass. One more thing. If I don't want spaghetti meatball to take on any other form because it is a perfected dish, I can add a final keyword before the class declaration. Making a class final means no other class can inherit from it. I have made the spaghetti meatball class in the final form. Nice. Let's run the code again. When calling fetch ingredients on spaghetti meatball, the console logs before, then the ingredients in a new line, and then after in the final line. This is a demonstration of where you use polymorphism by doing something before the parent class method and doing something after the parent class method. In this video, you have learned that a base class, also known as a superclass, is the parent of a subclass. You have also learned that polymorphism is about making a class take on a different form. You learned how to use polymorphism where you modify the base class method to perform a different task.